America was built on the backs of men who smoked cigarettes, drove without seatbelts, and had bacon for breakfast. If you miss your biohacking routine this morning, you're going to be okay. There's a time for leverage, but there's also a time for violence, which is just brute force. People get really obsessed with optimal, which is getting the most bang for your buck, but there's also maximizing, which is just getting the most bucks. You lose more life trying to optimize everything than just living it. The stress of trying to be perfect is killing you more quickly than your imperfections.
I think that's an ode to being willing to take huge amounts of imperfect action towards one goal and being willing to sacrifice other things for an extended period of time, despite the fact that other people will say they're making a sacrifice.
We have about 5 choices, in our life. We can be bad at what we do. We can be average at what we do. We can be good at what we do, which probably is God's expectation for whatever ability He gave us, or we can be excellent, or we can be elite. And everybody has a choice as to what they want to do and how they want to do that. But if you're going to be excellent or elite, you got to do special things. You have to have special intensity, you have to have special focus, you have to have a special commitment and drive and passion to do things at a high level and a high standard all the time. And it doesn't matter what God-given ability that you have, that probably can make you good. But without the rest of it, I'm not sure you ever get excellent or elite.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Welcome to episode number 202 of the State of Fitness. Today is March 6th, 2024. Thank you for joining me. I hope you're doing well. If this is your first time joining me, I am David Greenwalt, and I am the founder of Leanness Lifestyle University. For now 25 years and counting online, we've been helping people with science and experience to help them get to and live at the weight that they choose in the body and with the fitness they desire so that they can live their best life. For first-timers on these states of fitness, I discuss anything weight management oriented, anything health or fitness oriented. It's not sequenced. It's not in some kind of order, but if you're interested in health and fitness, there's going to be something for you here. Whatever's top of mind for the week. This week, it's all about body composition. So this whole live this week, this whole State of Fitness is going to be on body composition. So it's going to be really, really cool. This State of Fitness is my 202nd since February 5th, 2020. All right. So if you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel and you like what you see, please make sure that you do that. And let's get right to it. First, let's highlight some students that have really rocked it in the last week, and then we'll get to body composition. Okay, so I want to give Kim Larson a shout out here. Kim graduated Lifestyle 180, and she is also down about 33 pounds. So that means she had to do all of the lessons over a period of 18 weeks, 126 days. She did have to do them all. She had to meet all the requirements. She did this. She met all the requirements satisfactorily, which is not something that everybody can do. Well, they can do it, but they don't necessarily do it. And so I want to give Kim a big shout out and a big congratulations for graduating Lifestyle 180. And now she's on to Lifestyle 218, which is the second semester, the second 18-week course in our system, and we wish her much continued success. Keep sharing with us, Kim, and keep it rocking. This is a bunch of goal achievers in the past week. So all of these students have achieved a 5-week goal. So all of our goals at LOU are 5 weeks. This week they achieved a goal. And so here's some stats on the people who have achieved goals this week. Look at this, it's all over the map. Becca P's down 94.6 pounds. She's in maintenance. She's been maintaining for 544 days. Christiane N is down 50.8 pounds. Edward is down 12. Elizabeth F is down 10. Aaron G's down 96.4. Look at that. The inverse of Becca's. Becca, Aaron, I know you guys will see this eventually. Look at those numbers, 94.6, 96.4. Isn't that something? Aaron E's down 29.8 pounds. Hazel P's down 10.2 and been holding that for 247 days. Janice is down 14.2. Jamie's down 35.3. Jessica down 48. Mary W down 12.3. Patrick down 23.6 for 81 days. Rob V's down 22 pounds. Roberta's down 37.4 and is at her lifetime goal and has been for 9 days. Stacy is down 9.3, Therese is down 10.2, Tina's down 18, Tracy's down 14.5, and Troy's down 15.1. So congratulations, everyone. And I want to make sure, of course, that for anybody who's newer, those numbers are not what they lost in 5 weeks, but they did achieve a 5-week goal, and this is what they've lost so far in LLU. And these are currently active students. Way to go, everybody. Season and lifetime lows. So a while back, I started looking at this, and from time to time, I like to share it. So I consider a season low if someone hits their lowest weight in the past 90 days. It might not be their lowest weight ever at LLU, but it's the lowest weight they've achieved in the last 90 days. And then I look at students that have hit their lifetime low. Now, it could be newer students, but it could be also very experienced students, seasoned veterans that have hit their lifetime low. So look at the number of students here who have hit a 90-day season low in the last 90 days. They've hit a season low, and they hit it this week, all right? So this week, that's what I was looking at. Numbers logged this week. These students have hit a 90-day season low this week. And then the students in blue have hit a lifetime low this week. So really, really outstanding. Congratulations, everyone there. And this one is what we call our maintainers list. All of these students have achieved their lifetime goal. They're still members. And they've kept off their weight. They have maintained their lifetime goal within 10 pounds for the number of days you see in the days column. And they've kept off the amount of weight you see in the weight loss column. So it ranges from single-digit weight loss to just a few days for somebody kind of newer or revisiting the list, to people that have kept off 140 pounds for over 1,000 days. Really, really varies. I want to highlight that the students in green have kept their weight off for at least a year, and they are master's candidates. And then the students in orange have earned their master's, which means they have kept the weight off for 2 consecutive years and counting. And they're PhD candidates, and then the students in blue have earned their PhD as they have kept it off for 4 consecutive years. And it looks like Susan there at 1,437 days. I guess it'd be 1,460, I guess is 4 years. So I gave her credit just a smidge early, but she'll make it. So congratulations, everyone, on this list. Thank you, and much continued success. Thank you for continuing to inspire us all and show us what it is that can be done, and continuing to exemplify what it is that nearly every student that comes to me is wanting to do. Lose the weight one more time for the last time. Okay. Tonight's topic, it's all about body composition and the methods to determine if we are in a healthy weight range, overweight, or obese. Body composition is one of the 5 health-related fitness components, and with very good reasons. Our bodies are made up mostly of 4 things: water, muscle, bone, and fat. When evaluating body composition, this is called the 4-component model. We can subdivide these 4 into 2 groups: fat mass and fat-free mass. Water, muscle, and bone are fat-free mass. Everything else is fat. This is called the 2-component model. When body composition becomes tilted too much toward fat, we can become obese. Obesity isn't just an external appearance or self-love issue, where if we focus hard enough on a positive body image, we'll be just fine. Obesity most often eventually causes things called comorbidities. We hear a lot about comorbidities, but what is a comorbidity? Comorbidity, a disease or medical condition that is simultaneously present with another or others in a patient. So if we're talking about obesity and comorbidities, we're looking for diseases or medical conditions simultaneously present with obesity. Here are many of the comorbidities associated with obesity: sleep apnea, respiratory infections, asthma, hypoventilation syndrome, malignant cancers, social stigmatization and depression, coronary artery disease, hypertension, cardiomyopathy, atherosclerosis, stroke, pregnancy-related hypertension, increased surgical risk and post-operative complications, including wound infection, post-operative pneumonia, deep venous thrombosis, and pulmonary embolism, stress incontinence, gallbladder disease, non-alcoholic steatohepatitis, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, and gastroesophageal reflux disease, osteoarthritis, and so many more. Type 2 diabetes, mellitus, prediabetes, metabolic syndrome, and dyslipidemia. Infertility, polycystic ovaries, hypogonadism, I almost said it right, erectile dysfunction, lower extremity venous and or lymphatic edema, reduced mobility and difficulty maintaining personal hygiene, immune dysfunction, and inflammation. Is that all? It's a lot, right? In the 30 plus years I've been coaching people through transformation, I've often heard people state that they didn't care what they weigh. They just wanted to be what? Healthy. I just want to be healthy. Don't care what I weigh. Well, if you want to be healthy, body composition matters a lot. How much muscle do you have? How much fat? How much bone? Are you suffering from osteoporosis? How do you know? As I'll discuss a bit later, one of the body composition tests will tell you how you're doing for all of these components. And I wouldn't be David Greenwalt if I didn't at least mention that a perpetually good reason to go ahead and care what the scale says is if you are over fat, the scale numbers are going to need to go down. Why? Why can't the scale just stay the same and we just add a ton of muscle? Because we can't. This is a screenshot from my book, The Leanest Lifestyle, that I published way back in 2002. As you can see here, women new to strength training, at best, if they train really hard and intelligently and progressively, will add at the most about a half a pound of muscle a month. And men might add double that. So if you're significantly overweight and female, you might add 6 pounds of muscle in a year. And as a man, you might add 12 pounds of muscle in a year, but probably not. So if you are 30, 50, or 150 pounds overweight, the scale numbers must go down. They must go down so you can achieve all the elements of your why and be the size you want to be. So you really should care what the scale says for this reason, and the fact those who self-monitor via daily weighing do lose faster, more consistently, and they keep the weight off longer too. Research and experience backed. All right, that's my patented you should care what the scale says elevator speech. All right, so I've said body composition is one of the 5 health-related fitness components. That body composition is water, bone, muscle, and fat, that there are real and serious comorbidities that often accompany obesity, and that we should pay attention to the scale because it's a proven weight loss and weight maintenance tool, and striving to move closer to a healthy weight is a healthy and worthy endeavor. So now, I'll share with you the first body composition method. It's BMI. BMI is a quick, easy, completely non-invasive math calculation, which, by the way, stands for body mass index, but it's based only on height and weight. If you're American, then the formula is weight in pounds divided by height in inches squared, and then multiply that by 703. We, of course, don't need the formula these days. We just Google it, and instantly there are charts and calculators galore, but at least you know the formula. BMI, body mass index, determines whether someone is underweight, meaning they have a BMI of less than 18.5, normal weight, a BMI of 18.5 to 24.9, overweight, a BMI of 25 to 29.9, obese, a BMI of 30 to 39.9, morbidly obese, a BMI of 40 to 49.9, and super morbidly obese, a BMI of 50 or greater. But BMI doesn't care what proportion of your weight is fat or muscle. It's just a calculation based on height and weight. Therefore, BMI can mistakenly convict a thickly muscled athlete as overfat, even though they are lean. So check out this pro bodybuilder I'm going to show you in a second here. 5'10", 250 pounds, 5% body fat. Where are we at here? There we go. 5% body fat. But by BMI, 250 pounds, by BMI, he's obese. BMI is 37, which is obese, because obese is 30 to 39.9. But 99.9% of people do not have too much muscle. So BMI doesn't usually get it wrong there. A lot of people think they have a lot more muscle than they do. But BMI doesn't get it wrong for 99.9% of people because they have too much muscle. Where BMI is even more likely to get it wrong is the skinny fat person. BMI can give credit to someone at a healthy weight, but who has far too little muscle and too much fat. This can happen at any age, and It can happen in middle age, but it can happen at any age. But it's far more likely to occur in those who are middle-aged and older who don't regularly do resistance training to preserve muscle and prevent sarcopenia, which is the natural loss of muscle with aging. Hence the skinny fat designation. They are thin in clothes, but their body fat is too high. Thin on, they're thin in clothes, too fat. If this guy, if he was 5'10", 173 pounds, he'd be in the normal weight range. Not even overweight by BMI, but with a body fat of 24%, his body fat is poor, and he's 1% away as a male from being obese. Whether BMI says that you're at a healthy weight, overweight, or obese, it's at least worth mentioning that you can be any of these categories and be metabolically unhealthy. You can be at a healthy weight, overweight, or obese, any of those, and you can be metabolically unhealthy. So what does being metabolically unhealthy mean? By the way, you can be metabolically unhealthy if you are at a healthy weight or overweight, but you are far more likely to be metabolically unhealthy if you are obese. Anyway, so what does being metabolically unhealthy mean? Well, a well-recognized way to determine this is to look at something called the metabolic syndrome. The American Heart Association says the metabolic syndrome is a group of 5 conditions that can lead to heart disease, diabetes, stroke, and other health problems. Metabolic syndrome is diagnosed when someone has 3 or more of these risk factors: high blood pressure, high levels of triglycerides in the blood, large waist circumference or apple-shaped, low levels of HDL, the good cholesterol, and high blood glucose, blood sugar. Although each of these is a risk factor for cardiovascular disease, when a person has 3 or more and is diagnosed with metabolic syndrome, the chance of developing a serious cardiovascular condition increases. For example, high blood pressure is an important risk factor for cardiovascular disease, but when combined with high fasting blood sugar levels and abdominal obesity, a large waistline, the chance for developing cardiovascular disease is even higher. Metabolic syndrome is a serious health condition that puts people at higher risk of heart disease, diabetes, stroke, and diseases related to fatty buildups in artery walls. In other words, atherosclerosis. Underlying causes of metabolic syndrome include being overweight and obese, being insulin resistant, physical inactivity, genetic factors, and increasing age. So, can you have metabolic syndrome and be a healthy weight? Yes, as I said. Researchers define this as metabolically unhealthy normal weight. Metabolically unhealthy normal weight. Research indicates the prevalence of metabolically unhealthy normal weight affects about 30% of normal weight persons globally. Another way to say it is 30% of skinny people are actually fat on the inside and metabolically unhealthy. So BMI can wrongly convict that tiny fraction of the population with a lot of muscle, and it can wrongly exonerate the normal weight but over fat person, aka the skinny fat person. Even so, overall, BMI does its job of being a quick, easy, no-cost rule of thumb measure of fatness. But really, if we want to get a better idea of whether our body composition is at the sickness, wellness, or fitness level, BMI needs at least 2 friends to help clarify what's going on. They are, number 1, a waist-to-hip ratio requiring a waist and hip measurement, and number 2, a body composition measurement. Before I hit the waist-to-hip ratio, let me quickly hit the simple waist circumference measurement. There's good data saying this simple measurement can be used as an indicator for determining obesity. I wouldn't use it as my sole indicator, but it can be one for sure. Using a stretch-resistant tape, the waist is measured just above the belly button. I'll show you a better image in a video in a second. The American Heart Association and the National Heart, Lung, and Blood Institute say that women with a waist circumference greater than 35 inches and men with a waist circumference greater than 40 inches, respectively, have abdominal obesity. The International Diabetes Federation has tighter limitations. They say women with a waist circumference greater than 31.5 inches and men with a waist circumference greater than 35.5 inches, respectively, have abdominal obesity. So if we put this waist circumference into the model where we evaluate on a continuum from sickness, that's the S, to wellness, that's the W, to fitness, that's the F. For women, we're looking at women here, a waist circumference greater than 35 would be in the sickness area. If it's in the area of 33.5, then we might say she's at a wellness level. And if her waist circumference is less than 31, then we say she's in the fitness category. And then for men, same thing, follow the same model. Men are in the sickness zone with a waist greater than 40 inches. They are at the wellness level when the waist is around 38. They're at the level of fitness when their waist is less than 36 inches. Okay? Next, let's go to something called the waist to hip ratio. The waist to hip ratio is the ratio of the circumference of the waist to that of the hips. This is calculated as the waist measurement divided by the hip measurement. For example, a person with a 30-inch waist and 38-inch hips has a waist to hip ratio of 0.78. Using a stretch-resistant tape, the waist is measured just above the belly button. Hip circumference should be measured around the widest portion of the buttocks. For both the waist and hip measurements, the tape should be parallel to the floor. For both measurements, the individual should wear little clothing, stand with feet close together. This guy's not standing with his feet close together. Arms at the side and your body weight should be evenly distributed. You should be relaxed and the measurements should be taken at the end of a normal respiration. Each measurement should be repeated twice. If the measurements are within a ½ inch of one another, the average should be calculated. If the difference between the two measurements exceeds a ½ inch, the two measurements should be repeated. The waist to hip ratio has been used as an indicator or measure of health and the risk of developing serious health conditions. Research shows that people with apple-shaped bodies, more weight around the waist, face more health. They have more health risks than those with pear-shaped bodies, more weight around the hips. The waist to hip ratio has been found to be a more efficient predictor of mortality in older people, those greater than 75 years of age. It's been found to be a greater predictor than waist circumference or BMI. And the waist to hip ratio has been shown to be a better predictor of cardiovascular disease than waist circumference and body mass index. And the fairest analysis of obesity risk for the waist to hip ratio is by gender and age. So, as you can see from the chart, the ratio naturally goes up with age. A person, for example, a 20 to 29-year-old man has a low risk of complications related to obesity if his ratio is less than 0.83. A man 50 to 59 has the same low risk if his ratio is less than 0.90. Okay, waist to hip ratio. Body composition. All right, I've discussed BMI, waist circumference, and the waist to hip ratio. Now let's talk about body fat analysis and full body composition analysis. While BMI, waist circumference, and the waist to hip ratio are good starters, when it comes to health-related fitness, a direct measurement of body composition is important. You now know that you can be metabolically unhealthy and a normal weight. So whether you're at a healthy weight or you're considered overweight, knowing your body fat percentage at a minimum gives a more complete picture of your actual fitness level. So, what is a good body fat? For health and fitness, adult men should be in the range of 10 to 20% body fat. Adult women, 16 to 28%. Men with body fats over 25% and women with body fats over 36% are considered obese. The standards vary based on age as well. Someone in their 20s would be healthy on the lower to middle end of these ranges. In other words, not closer to the 20% for men, not closer to the 28% for women. They would be healthier in the lower ranges because their bodies are more naturally going to gravitate toward that, or they're going to have an easier time, and they're naturally going to be hanging on to more muscle than someone who's typically middle-aged or older. Whereas someone in their 70s could be healthy in the upper to middle end of those ranges. So someone in their 70s could be quite healthy as a man in the 18 to 20% range, and a woman 26 to 28% or whatever. Could be quite healthy if she's in her 70s. So when it comes to fitness, body composition, specifically body fat percentage, matters as much as not smoking, being active, and eating healthy. Here's something I found interesting and that I have never anywhere seen discussed. When you Google body fat percent obese for men and women, you're most commonly going to find over and over, you're going to find the following. 30 years in this field, I've seen this from at least the early 90s. Source after source after source saying that men are obese, they are obese when their body fat is above 25%, and women are obese when their body fat is above 32%. And I just told you that women are not obese until their body fat is 36%, not 32%. So what's up? Well, the thing is, see, the female cutoff at 32% for obesity seems to have come from one source, a book titled Advances in Body Composition Assessment, Current Issues in Exercise Science, excuse me, monograph number 3 from 1993. And this should blow your mind if it doesn't. It has mine. It appears nearly everyone since 1993 has used this one source's 32% cutoff for females as the body fat level that determines obesity. What I'm insinuating, yes, absolutely accusing public health and science writers of doing, is using the illusory effect. That is, they are repeating false information, and by doing so, so much, it's become accepted and believed. Well, if so-and-so said it, being highly esteemed and respected, it must be right. It seems that the original 1993 source said it, then well-respected whoever's repeated it, then everyone else saw that respected whoever's repeated it, and then they repeated it. And it's been repeated so much, it's become accepted as fact, even though it does appear there was one source who said it originally, and it's not been backed up with good data, at least on the female side, since. This repeating of false information so much that it becomes believed by the masses is, as I said, it's known as the illusory effect. Who cares about any of this, right? Why is old Dave being nitpicky on this? Why do I allow something like this to drive me kind of bananas? Because the overwhelming amount of research into obesity and its comorbidities, disease risks, and more has used body mass index, not body fat. Why would researchers use body mass index far, far more than body fat when evaluating issues related to obesity? Simple. Because body mass index doesn't require a body fat test of any kind. It's just a math equation. It's free, it's simple, and it's accepted. And I'm not knocking those aspects. I'm just saying that BMI is what is used overwhelmingly in research for determining obesity, not body fat. Now, body fat is used in determining obesity. It's just not used nearly as much when you look at the totality of the research as compared to BMI. Since body mass index, BMI, has been the overwhelming measure of obesity in research, and it's been well recognized since about 1998 that a BMI of 30 or greater is obese, I thought it'd be interesting to see what body fat for men and women researchers found correlated with that BMI of 30. Guess what I found? Now, there aren't very many studies, believe it or not, where researchers looked at both BMI and actual body fat of their subjects. But in the dozen or so studies I was able to find and that provided data correlating a BMI of 30 with body fat, what I found was men with a BMI of 30, which is obese by BMI, do correlate nicely with a body fat of about 25%, which has been stated over and over and over is considered obese for men. So a BMI of 30 is considered obese, and a body fat of 25% of greater than 25% in men is obese. Those two correlate. So where this goes sideways, though, is for females. In studies where BMI and body fat were both evaluated, and females were a part of the target population under study, when researchers found a BMI of about 30, again, 30 is obese, when they found that BMI of about 30 for females, they found their body fat was about 37%, not the overwhelmingly cited 32%. So again, who cares? Why does it matter? Well, if we just keep playing this game of illusory truth, we just keep parroting and repeating the wrong information, we keep repeating information that's just not right. It's not accurate. And I don't like it. And then, because people have a tendency to then believe this false information. We see this not just in science, we see this over and over and over and over in so many areas of life, right? It just keeps getting repeated and people then just believe it to be true. And all that repeated exposure adds up. you know? And it's a shame because it's the wrong information. And in this case, we are saying, what I'm saying is females are obese. They are obese, not when their body fat is 32%. Based almost on everything I could find, based solely on that one source, that one book from 1993. But when body fat is correlated with BMI, females are not obese by body fat until they're about 37%, not 32. So I say, let's get it right. Let's stop repeating the wrong information. Let's stop convicting females of being obese when their body fat is 32%. All right. So my little, you won't hear this anywhere but here rant can be summarized like this. Getting it right. By BMI, men and women are obese when their BMI is 30 or more or above. By body fat, men are obese when their body fat is above 25%. And women are obese when their body fat is above 36%, not 32%, as is often most cited. If I were evaluating body fat on the sickness, wellness, fitness continuum, we'd have to look at gender and age, as we do with most other fitness components. So if we stick with our 50 to 59 age category, just for an example, and female, we'd be in the sickness category if the body fat was greater than 36%, right? Because you're obese if your body fat's greater than 36% in female. We'd be wellness in around that 28% body fat. We're at the wellness level, 50th percentile or so, shooting for that. And we'd be in the fitness category if our body fat was in that 13 to 19% range. Okay? And for a man, same deal here. It'd be sickness level at around greater than 24%, right? Because 25% is obese. We'd be at the wellness level around 17% and fitness level in that 10 to 12%. So, great. Nice to know these things about body fat, right? How can we check our body composition? There are 5 most common methods of checking body composition. They include underwater weighing, skin fold, a bod pod, DEXA, and BIA, bioelectrical impedance analysis. Let's look at underwater weighing first. It's also known as hydrodensitometry. It can be very accurate, but makes you blow out all your air while underwater for 30 seconds. It's not fun, easy, or cheap, and finding a place to do it can be a pain. Next, a skin fold test. Using calipers, most often a trainer will measure skin folds at 1 or more locations on your body. Skin fold is highly dependent on the skill of the person holding the calipers, and also how heavy the test subject is. The more fat you have, the less accurate skin fold is likely to be. It's just harder to pull the skin and fat to get an accurate reading. Bod pod. With a bod pod, you simply sit in an egg-shaped chamber for 5 to 8 minutes. Using air displacement technology, it'll tell you your weight, fat mass, fat-free mass, and lung volume. And we've got DEXA, dual energy X-ray absorptiometry. This is what researchers all use today and is considered the gold standard for body composition testing. DEXA is the only method that'll provide fat mass, fat-free mass, and true bone density. You do it fully clothed, lying on your back. Takes about 10 minutes or less. You can search for DEXA scan locations on Google, of course. One of the companies that has a decent presence all over is DEXA Fit. BIA, or bioelectrical impedance analysis, is what most home scales use if they include body fat results. BIA circulates a small, safe electrical signal throughout the body. The signal passes quickly through water-dense muscle, but meets resistance when it hits fat tissue. This resistance, known as impedance, is measured, and through calculations, body fat estimates are made. BIA is thought to be more accurate when the device provides both sensors in the foot plate and handles, as you see this woman on an in-body device. There's sensors both in the foot plate and the handle she's gripping. And that is generally for BIA considered to be a more accurate way to do it. You can find an in-body location by going to inbodyusa.com, of course, or just Googling it. Your gym might have it. They may charge for it, whatever the case may be. In-bodies are available here and there and yonder, and you can search the website if you want to find one. Google it, you'll find out what's available near you. Now, a home BIA scale is usually best because it can be used every day, and it allows you to monitor trends over time. In this video, you'll see me weighing The numbers will be kind of small, so I'll just narrate what you get with this Nokia Plus Wi-Fi scale. So first it'll tell you what your weight is. Next it'll show you a trend line of your weight for the past 8 weigh-ins and the weight change since your last weigh-in. Next it'll show you a body fat percentage. There's mine at 9.8%. Next it'll tell you your body water percentage. Mine was 57.9% on this day. And finally it'll tell you the current outside temperature and the high for today. Also, best of all, once you sync the Nokia scale with LLU, once you hop off your scale within about 5 minutes, your weight will be auto-logged on the LLU website. Really couldn't be easier. Regardless of the method, all body fat tests are estimates and only as good as the instrument operator, the calibration of the device, and whether the recommended testing protocols were followed. At the boots on the ground level, to know your body composition for the sake of assessment of health and fitness, I'd get a quality home bath scale that also measures body fat. It'll use the BIA method. Weigh and check your body fat daily. Google your scale's directions and follow those directions. Out of 7 measurements in a week, for example, drop the high and the low. Okay, if you're weighing every day and you're getting a body fat every day, out of those 7 measurements in a week, drop the high and the low, and then average the remaining 5. But if after doing that, if I was pretty sure something was way off, like let's say I've got a solid 6-pack abs going on, and it says I'm 40% body fat, well, then I'm going to find a place that offers DEXA and get a full scan done, or I'm going to do an in-body. I'm going to do something different than my home scale. That home scale is broken. Something's wrong. Plus, as a bonus, if I do DEXA, I'll know my bone density and have a more accurate view of my skeletal muscle mass, not just fat-free mass, which includes bone and everything other than fat. And if I couldn't find a DEXA location, then as it's on the screen there, I would probably find an in-body location. Their high-end scales, like I said, are also BIA based, like the home bath scales, but again, as I said earlier, the sensors are both at the feet and the hands, and at least anecdotally, word on the street, they are more reliable than a home scale. If anyone wants suggestions on how to get a body fat done, or wants to know where they stand with fitness, with their current known body fat, just send me a private message, contact me in some way, and I will help you sort it out and make sure that you are not confused any longer. Just like that. We went through the tests, went through everything. All the basics for body composition, from BMI to waist circumference, waist to hip ratio, the various body composition types of tests that are out there in standard. One of the things that's kind of cool about body fat is we ask our students to develop their why. And some students really can get hung up on, I don't want to put a weight in there. I don't want it to be about weight at all. And if that's the case, and even if it's not, one of the things that can be kind of cool is using body fat within your why. Because, whether you want to get into single-digit body fats and just be ripped or whatever, that's not 99% of our clients. So, and I'm not pushing that in any way, shape, or form. But if we know that females are obese at 37% and males are obese at 26%, and your body fat's 45%, male or female or whatever, you can put, if you know your body fat, you can put that as a goal or as part of your why, or even as the main theme of your why, because there are so many health-related aspects that are attached directly, science-based, evidence-based, peer-reviewed, published, extensive research indicating that body composition matters. And body fat is a part of body composition. Body fat and body composition are not exactly the same. Body fat is body fat. Body composition is looking at everything: muscle mass, water, bone, and body fat. And so knowing that, you can put that into your goal. Maybe as a male, if the ideal is 10 to 20%, maybe you could put 15% depending on how old you are and what the deal is. And if you're female and it's 16 to 28%, well, maybe you could put 20% as a goal, or 22%, or something like that as a goal. You'll have a lot of leg to stand on, a lot of ground, solid ground to stand on, if you include or even make body fat the primary book title that goes with your why, and then include all the other chapters about what you're going to get from that. Because it's not the number, but what you do to get that number, the lifestyle you live to get that number is what it's all about. And all the other things you're going to get that are lifestyle based, all the other aspirational qualities, all of the other functional daily living qualities, all of the other pride and self-confidence levels, and all the showing others, living by example, all of the things that go into your why are going to be positively impacted if your body fat, your body composition is somewhere in that at least wellness range, right? Rather than sickness. We want, instead of sickness, we want to be at least wellness or maybe even fitness, okay? That's it for this week. Hope you enjoyed this presentation on body composition. Until next time, listen everybody, start the day with a plan. Eat the plan. Move with the plan. Engage in a little self-care each day. Have a why. Know your why. Remember your why. Prep and plan ahead as you can. Make sure you're engaging support. Until next time, one bite, one step, one thought, one affirmation, one prep, one engagement, one day at a time. Keep going. Keep growing. Until next time, let's focus on what we want. Let's be grateful for what we already have. And remember, it's all happening perfectly. Good night. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.